So when we last left off, we had Jacobo with bad credit and Laura with good credit. And they're both buying the same vehicle that cost $29,400. Because of his bad credit, Jacobo is going to pay 11.2% interest over 5 years, and Laura is just going to pay 6.5% over 5 years. So that resulted in an interest payment of $16,464 for Jacobo and an interest payment of $9,555 for Laura. Now, I'm going to go on to the next page because we're going to continue with this problem. So we're going to do this in 2 stages. You guys ready? All right, here is the next part. And this part we've done before. So if you, let me just get my pens here. What was I writing this in? 1 second. Okay. So the next part in this question is, what is the balance for each? Person. Okay, so let's start off with Jacobo. You guys remember how we find a balance? The principal. So 29,400 plus 16,464. Okay, and let's do the same thing for Laura. So for her, the balance is going to be 29,400 plus the 9,555. Okay. So let's see what we get. And this would be the total they would have to pay the bank over the 5 years. Let's start off with Jacobo here. How much is he going to pay?
Jacobo's going to pay $45,864.
$45,864. When the car originally cost $29,400. And how about Laurita here?
$38,955.
Okay. Now, here's the last part of this question. How many years are they going to take to pay this? 5 years. The last part of the question is, how much, assuming the payments are divided up equally every month, how much will each, because this is really what it breaks down to, how much will each of them pay each month? Ooh. So, let's think what we need to figure out. We know it's going to be 5 years it's going to take them to pay. But how many months is that?
60?
60. How'd you get 60?
Because each year has 12 months, so I multiply 12 times 5 and I equal 60.
So it's going to be 60 months. Let's just kind of write that down. 5 years has 5 times 12, which equals 60 months. So now we know it's going to be spread out over 60 months, right? How much money is going to be spread out over those 60 months? For Jacobo, okay, let's.
$764.40.
How'd you get that?
Because I did 45,864 divided by 60.
Yeah, you basically take the balance divided by 60 months. So for Jacobo, it's going to be $45,864 divided by 60, and that turned out to be, each month he's going to pay $764.40 per month. For Laura, so if you ever wondered, parents, brother, sister, somebody has to make that monthly car payment, this is what they're talking about. So Laura was what? 38,000?
Yeah, 38,955.
And we're going to divide that over 60 months.
That is $649.25.
$649.25
Per month.
per month. How much less is she paying? About
$100.
She's paying about $100 less a month. And all because she has good credit. The moral of the story is, guys, get good credit, and when you have it, keep it.
Just save money.
Okay. Now,
So sometimes the bank gives you money for keeping your money in a savings account.
yes. But usually that interest rate isn't that high. So here's how it works. The banks, you open a savings account and you earn interest. But the interest we're talking about is maybe 2%, 2.5%. If you could find a bank that gives you 3.5%, that's a lot, believe it or not, for a savings account. So instead, what they do is they have they call them financial instruments, other ways of saving money. Because when you put money in a savings account, right, you can pull it out whenever you want. Say you put in $3,000 in a savings account, and 3 months later you need to use that money for something. You have it ready and you pull it out, that's fine. The bank has no problem with that. However, say you have $3,000 and it's just money you're never going to touch for like 5 years. And you're not going to touch it for 5 years. Or sometimes parents put money into like a college fund for you sometimes. And they just put money in knowing that you're not going to be spending that money for 18 years, 12 years, for a long amount of time, up until the time it's time for you to go to college. So they just keep on putting money in. Those type of accounts that you're not going to touch, and there's a penalty if you do try to pull out the money, those accounts earn higher interest, sometimes 8%, 10%.
10%?
Yeah. Depending on the certificates of deposit, they're called CDs.
So
So-
and like, do you get them every month or every year?
Well, it just goes back into the account, and usually that's compounded interest, which is not simple interest. We're going to talk about compounded interest tomorrow. Okay, so that type of interest is higher, and you get it on everything, not just the principal. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. But there are other ways of saving money that aren't earn you higher interest.
But like, I'm saying like no, like I'm saying like, what type of like when would you get the money? Like when would you get that interest? Like how often?
Oh, well, it's annual interest, but sometimes they do it in quarters, like every few months, every 3 months or so.
3 months?
They plop it in. But it's the amount you would get over the year on that. Okay. So you're bringing up good questions. One of them we'll answer tomorrow when we talk about compounded interest. One of them we'll answer next year when you're in Algebra 1 and we talk about compounding at different quarters or different times of the year. So other math that we'll get to. Okay, one last problem, guys. So this one has to do with credit cards. Something we all get in trouble. Well, hopefully you will not get in trouble with credit cards. But does anyone know of or have heard of people that just max out their credit cards or just put all the money on a credit card and then it's hard to pay it off?
There's a show on PBS about that.
Yes.
PBS Kids.
Oh, really? Well, here's a story. So we have Julia put, let's say $4,000 on a credit card. One month. Ooh. She maybe went on a trip or something. I said, I'll just put it on the credit card. Okay. On a credit card that charges 11.8% interest. How much did she pay in interest if it took her 15 months to pay off the $4,000 plus the interest, of course, but the interest doesn't stop until you pay off the principal, which was $4,000. Okay, so let's say Julia decided to spend $4,000 and she needed to have something or needed to go on this trip. Put it on the credit card. Things happen in life, you know, emergency trips or just a trip for fun. But it's $4,000. The credit card will charge 11.8% interest, which is common. It's not horrible, which means she probably had good credit to start with. But yeah, it took her 15 months to pay it off, that $4,000 plus the interest, of course. Let's figure it out. Let's see. We have the interest formula, right? Do we know all the parts for this? Let's check. Do we know Do we know the principal? How much? 4,000. Do we know the rate? 11.8. So we're going to write that as 0.118 as a decimal. Do we know the time?
15 months.
Aha. There's a catch there, though. 15 months. 1 year and 3 months. But I can't, into my formula here, I can't put in 1 year and 3 months. I got to express that value as a number that represents that 15 months, but as a year. You see what I'm saying? This is in months. I need to write this number in years.
1.3. No. Actually, it's not going to be 1.3. 1.4 actually, because 3 is 1/4 of 12.
How many months in a year?
12. So T is 1.12, 1.4 years, right?
In your calculators, type in 15 divided by 12. There's 24 months in a year, right? So 15 divided by 12 is, what did we say? What did some? 1.25. When they give you months divided by 12, and that will be the conversion into years. So 15 months is 1.25 years. Any questions on that? So now we got everything for our formula. To find the interest, we do 4,000 times our rate times 15 months, but in years as 1.25. And how much did she have to pay in interest? 500. 509?
590.
590. Wow. $590. Is that a lot?
No.
It's like you're giving away $590 because you borrowed 4,000. Think about that. So in the end, she had to pay $4,590. You know.
I don't think that's that much.
Considering
how much she spent, that's not like a
yeah,
whole lot.
I guess it's what it's worth to you, right? If it was an emergency, what are you going to do? You can't do anything about it. If it was just because she wanted the latest something and she said, well, I'll pay $590 extra. If it's worth it to you, great. But in the end, if you're like, wow, I had to give away $590 so I could borrow $4,000 for a little while. It's what it's worth to you guys. So I will let you decide, but just know that when you borrow money in the form of a credit card, the best is to pay it off right away. Because if you pay it off right away that month, so you say you spend $1,200 on a credit card, right? Put the phone away. So you spend $1,200 on a credit card that month. And then you pay it at the end of the month. Guess how much you pay in interest? How much would you pay in interest? Anybody know? Yeah, if you pay it off right away, they won't charge you interest. Okay? But if you let it lag, okay, maybe, well, I won't pay. I'll pay a little bit. They always, on the credit card bill, it always says minimum payment. And say you spent $1,200 that month. And they say minimum payment $30. So I'll just pay the $30. Well, guess what? You just paid a little bit of interest. You still probably owe the whole $1,200. You just paid a little bit of interest. And then that's how they get you. Try to pay it off every month, and you won't pay any interest. And yeah, that's how you keep from paying, almost half of $1,000 for borrowing some money. All right, guys. That's it for the lesson. But that last part we needed to talk about as well. So